Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between two legendary warriors. On the left hand side we have Sergeant Spaghetti, the master of the DAWI folk, with a flamethrower inspired build, up against Tesla of Clan BBB, bringing the mighty and ferocious Beastmen. Now, Beastmen are considered a little bit of a joke at the moment in multiplayer, but this is one of the matchups where they can really shine. They're very good up against elf factions and the dwarfs, particularly because of their heavy use of chariots. So for the warriors, though, of the mighty dwarven folk, we do have dwarf warriors dotted all along the front line, incredibly cheap and cheerful, but dwarf warriors have relatively decent stats, good armor at 85. They'll hold for an absolute age up against Ungors and Goreherds, so no problem there. In the secondary battle line, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Iron Drakes. Get the Flamer, brother. Get the heavy Flamer. Iron Drakes are here to party. Now, that big negative, in fact, it does have the discouragement right here, which is -8 for burnt, will be really good up against the Beastmen, who have pretty pitiful leadership all round. In the secondary battle line, protecting these troops, we have double Longbeards. Looks like we even have 2 cannons as well, so a ton of ranged troops. And these guys will be protected by the mighty and legendary Slayers. On either flank, we have some even more Longbeards dotted throughout and some Dwarf Warriors. And leading this force from the high ground here, just viewing the battlefield, we have the mighty Grombrindle, the White Dwarf himself, coming in with Flash Bomb. Grombrindle has no fear, and of course he is unbreakable. Really fun build. It's going to come down to can he protect the Iron Drakes, because they'll be able to mop up pretty much everything the Beastmen can bring. They're not so good against armor, but the Beastmen don't use armor, of course. Now, for the force of the Beastmen, we have Goreherds dotted all the way along the front line, as well as Ungors in a lovely vanguard position, just simply looking to swarm. These units aren't here to do damage, they're there to get into the back line, harass the DAWI as much as possible, and give them a bucket ton of problems, so the heavy hitters can really move in. With some Ungor Raiders hid on the flanks, I quite like this inclusion. Now, you may be thinking, why do you use such units who have terrible AP? But they're there to kill artillery crews and Slayers. The main punch of the build is in the back lines here. We have double Harpies, once again good at crashing into the back line, and 4 units of Razorgore chariots. That is insane. These chariots have anti-infantry armor piercing. Their little dream is to be rolling over DAWI, and they're very effective at it. With good cycle charging, 4 chariots is good enough to destroy any dwarven build. We have a Brave Shaman of Wild here as well, coming in, it seems, with Varltide, which is a very powerful spell, probably the best in this lore, as well as the Cygor Summon. Then we have Morga the Shadow Gave, who currently has fallen out of favour of me a little bit. I used to think he was the best Beastman Lord. I think he might be the second best now. Coming in with Staverinus Corruption, as well as Spirit Essence of Chaos. Those summons are going to be particularly useful, but he's not exactly going to be able to beat down Grombrindle or any of the Dwarven characters, but he is pretty hard to snipe. So double cannons have unleashed hell upon one of the Razorgore chariots, but it's only taken a bit of damage. It hasn't lost any models just yet, and the Dwarf Warriors are steadying themselves, getting ready for the crush of the enemy. Really excited to see how these Iron Drakes do. Hopefully they pay for themselves. And it looks like they could even fight up into the skies. Honestly, Harpies have pretty much no armor at 15. They're one of those units which can harass your back line, so just whack them straight away. Glorious Varltide going down, but as you can see, it does 0 damage to the Iron Drakes. It is simply going to distract them. And the Flamethrowers are active, and the Heavy Flamers are ripping apart the Harpies. It looks like one unit may break straight away, and you don't want to just engage with one, because that's simply not enough troops to pressure that back line. But in come the Razorgore chariots, clumping down the hill there, coming in with a huge amount of burst damage on top of those Iron Drakes, doing some glorious damage, although the other ones are going to be cross-firing a little bit into them. Harpies did decide to drop down on the cannons, but I don't think they're going to be able to get the crews. There are Slayers supporting, Iron Drakes supporting, and the Harpies will simply break. But as we can see, those chariots are going to be bouncing between Iron Drake formations, really trying to disrupt them where possible. Well, a big flank overload on this left-hand side by the Beastmen, which is a really good play. Coming in with double chariots, their characters, and a Cygor summon. They should be able to crush this left-hand side of the dwarf formation before pouring into the back line, while still distracting this side with chariots, so the dwarfs can't rotate around too easily. Cygor Summon has been used. He may be going into combat here, but I expect him to throw some boulders into the Iron Drakes as well. Grombrindle is just kind of bouncing around, doesn't want to get bogged down by Goreherds, needs to get into better engagements. Looks like this cannon has been shut down, but Longbeards are here to support the Goreherds. Should allow the cannons to continue firing into targets, and it looks like they are trying to target down Razorgore chariots, which of course is the optimal pick here. Slayers can simply swarm over these Harpies if Silent Spade's micro is on point, but it looks like the Iron Drakes have the situation under control. Belching fire into the Harpies there. The smell of burnt fur and flesh is ripe in the air. More Iron Drakes are launching shots into the Razorgores. Now, they won't do huge damage to them. Razorgore chariots do have 100 armor, but it's that discourage you want to give to them to try and force these guys off the field. And there's just Iron Drakes all around the battlefield. Harpies are flying off now into the distance. They should perhaps be able to come back. Grombrindle decided to go after the Cygor before thinking, you know what, lads, it's not for me. I'll leave this one for you. And giving the Slayers their wish of having a glorious death by charging in there. These summon Cygor, though, won't be able to kill them all before he does dissipate into the other realms. Kelspawn doing a good job here as well. It's a summon that's going to beat down Dwarf Warriors and Longbeards. They'll beat them into submission quite comfortably. And with Ungor Raiders as well, coping some shots up and over. They need to be aiming for Slayers where possible, though. It looks like at the moment they are shooting into Longbeards, which isn't the best targeting for them. Morgan the Shadowgave has got into the back line, doing a good job trying to shut down Iron Drakes, but Grombrindle is here. And if there's one thing Grombrindle knows, it is vengeance. Dropping his little flash bomb is going to make Morga kind of suffer, as he will be pinned in place. And if these Iron Drakes can get free, of course Morga has that weakness to fire damage. If they can belch a volley straight into his face, I'll be rather interested to see how his health does disappear. He's trying to run from Grombrindle, and he's taking massive burst damage, and all the shots directly in the face, and Morga's health drops super rapidly. That is disgusting! And he's going to break from the battlefield, and I don't know if there's any way back in this from the Beastmen if they lose their Lord, apart from through the chariots, and they're all doing a good job just bouncing around the combats. Camera getting a little shaky there as the Iron Drakes do once again unleash a salvo. Goreherd's easily going to be cleared up, and now the Slayers are slowly pinning in and surrounding chariots. And we can see this one over here still has 3 models, but is being forced off the field. That discouraged burnt effect come in really handy, although Iron Drakes are paying the price as well by being the main focus of attention. Morgan may rally here. His leadership is kind of high enough for him to come back, but he's taking big burst damage. These Goreherds need to get hold of their leaders, shake some sense into him, and bring him back into the battle. Brave Shaman of the Wild has shut down this cannon, which is good play by him, but Grombrindle is on the approach, and the mighty Dwarven leader will be able to clean up the Shaman incredibly quickly. He's a far, far, far better character. Over here, Slayers are holding back a huge amount of Beastmen. These units really need to be pouring into the back line, shutting down these Iron Drakes. Otherwise, the Dwarves will be able to recover their backline formation and reset themselves up quite comfortably. Morga's desperately trying to get in there, but 2 Iron Drakes are now coating him, bathing him in a waterfall of fire, and Morga is simply going to break as soon as he does hit the enemy lines. Cannons are going down range, consistently putting pressure on the chariots. That's a really good target priority by Sergeant Spaghetti, because if these guys are still getting shot, they're probably going to break off the battlefield rather than coming back and being a menace. So it looks like we still have 1, 2, 3 units of Iron Drakes still fully operational. They've taken an absolute beating. One of them has been forced off at this point. Brave Shaman as well has been hunted down across the hilltops by the mighty Grombrindle as the balance power does start to go in the DAWI's favour. This cannon will eventually be shut down. I mean, it's been good pressure all round so far from the Beastmen. I just don't think he expected so much fire to come to the table. So down here, the Goreherds are surrounding Iron Drakes, trying to finish them off. And it looks like, though, they are going to be getting cross-fired from all different angles. And it's going to be pretty hard for the Beastmen to come back into this. Every time the chariots come in, they don't have a lord anymore. They're constantly wavering, and the Iron Drakes are just pounding them down. And it looks like it shall be a victory for the mighty forces of the DAWI. Very well played to both of these true champs. Tesla did some really good micromanagement with those chariots to force them into the back line, but the heavy flamers really succeeded there. Well played to both of these champs. Hope you guys did enjoy the battle. Before we go through all the stats here, if you did enjoy, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up. I really appreciate it. It helps push the channel out to more people. And feel free to subscribe as well for more Total War Warhammer content. If you would like to see your replays up on the channel, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link in the description down below. Right, guys, let's have a little look here. So, Morga the Shadowgave did some fantastic work getting into the backline and those summons, but he himself got basically no damage value, had no good targets to get full, got slapped up by Grombrindle, and then doused in fire. Similar situation for all the characters here, and even the chariots kind of struggled a little bit as well. So in some good damage value on them, 1,000 here, 900 here, and 600 here, but overall they weren't enough to carry because the rest of the build just did pretty much nothing if we have a little look across. And that was because the good backline protection by Sergeant Spaghetti. Now you imagine every dwarf main to have good protection, but this was some beautiful crossfire. Cannons did good work as well. One of them struggled a little bit. The other one, 1,200 damage value, nearly 7k damage dealt, applying pressure to the chariots and force them off the field. But we're all here for the Iron Drakes. 2k damage value here, only 500, 900, 1,400, 10k damage dealt, 9,000. Huge stuff. They're real MVPs in it. It's not a meme. It actually works rather well here. I quite like it. Slayers did a good job. They protected the back line. That's their role. They weren't here to get crazy value, kill a load of targets. They're simply meant to be an unbreakable wall, as well as allowing the range units to really pack a punch. Longbeards were great up and said okay, as so did the Dwarf Warriors. They again held the line, allowed the range to really do the damage, which is the classic DAWI way. Grombrindle was pretty much full health by the end of the battle, but despite that still got 5k damage dealt and over 1000 damage value, beating down Morgur, forcing him away, and also beating on that Braze Shaman, and the Beastmen never recovered from losing their lords. I like the idea of the flank overload. He executed it rather well to start with, but then it stuttered and he wasn't able to push into the back line because of the sacrificial slayers. That allowed the DAWI to reorganize and finish off the isolated elements which was trying to break down his backline formation. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.